Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב
can be seated. Please be seated. My name is Rabbi Ilana Nematov Bressler, and I am one of the clergy here at Temple Israel, where Joyce and Bernie were members for many years. Today, we gather to remember Bernie Zimmerman, selfless, talkative, personable, and loving. The love of Bernie's life was Joyce. He was a wonderful husband to her. Bernie was dad to Wayne and Ellen and Rick, papa to Phoebe and Hallie. His brother Zimmy and Zimmy's wife Vicky, along with their family and the whole extended family, will miss Bernie. Bernie will truly be missed by all who met him, all with whom he could have had a meaningful conversation. We come together today for Bernie, to pay our respects to him and to give him the proper funeral that he deserves. And we set aside time today for ourselves to find comfort in this time of grief. We gather searching for a way to say goodbye to this gregarious man. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. God gives, God has taken away. Blessed be God's name. Death has taken Bernie. In the silence left by his loss, there is lamentation, there are tears, and indeed there is sorrow. Yet there is memory that we will carry with us our whole lives. That memory is what we will hold on now, in this moment, as we attempt to say goodbye to this man. The age-old words of our tradition will hopefully guide us through this process of saying goodbye. In a moment, we'll recite Psalm 23, intoned at funerals regularly. One reason is that death is seen as peaceful, like lying beside water in a meadow. But also the psalm goes deeper. It invokes an image of each of us walking through the valley of the shadow of death, a valley through which we each emerge, as each of you has been changed by Bernie's death. Another way the psalm provides meaning for us comes from Rabbi Steve Leder. He suggests that the shadow of death can only manifest in light being blocked. For what is a shadow but a manifestation of that light being blocked? And in that way, we are reminded that light must always shine when shadows are present. Bernie's light will continue to shine in all those whose lives he touched. And each of you can carry a little bit of a manifestation of Bernie into the world. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bino desha yarbitzeni almei minuchot yanchileni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo, gam ki elech begetzel mavet, lo ira ra, ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha hema Yenachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged surarai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi rivaya, achtov v'chesed yerafuni kol yamei chayai, v'shavti b'beit Adonai la'orach yamim. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. Adonai makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. God, you lead me in right paths for the sake of my name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Bernie was a caring, loving person. He indeed loved people so much that he loved throwing big family parties, including an ice cream truck, I've learned. And the next poem fits his outgoing and chatty personality. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give to them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is of love, give me away. Esa einai el heharin, me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai, osei shamayim va'aretz. Psalm 121 reads, I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Amen. At this point, we'd like to first invite Ellen up to share the story of her father's life, to help us know what he did and when, come on up, and the color in between.
The last time I was up here, I think, was for my confirmation. And also, as I look out here, before I read my notes, my dad would be so happy to see you all here today. Bernie Zimmerman. Dad, grandfather, husband, loyal friend, uncle, brother, and son. Mr. Z, and sometimes known as Mr. B. My dad and I are the criers in the family, so forgive me in advance. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. It means so much to us, and the support is a real source of comfort today. Most people here know we went through a really hard time a few years ago, and I still believe the support we received was the only way possible that we survived. It was as if it carried us through when we couldn't do it ourselves. Not sure, because I haven't done this before, but this eulogy may be a bit unconventional. I'm going to talk a little about myself so that you can learn more about Bernie or Mr. Z, as many of you affectionately call him. I've been running a lot since Hallie and I were scheduled to run the Paris Marathon this Sunday, but there's no place I'd rather be than here. Lately when I run, because I'm a slower runner, I have a lot of time to think, so I've thought about what I want to say, and a few thoughts are on top of my mind. My parents' complete faith in my ability to achieve anything I wanted, the love for their granddaughters, and their bravery to make a move to give us a better life. More on all of that to come. Things he loved in no particular order except for the end, and some of these I'll explain. Gardening, Cadillacs, the Barron Conference, Wall Street Week with Louis Rukeyser, the Wall Street Journal, Seinfeld, Archie Bunker, the Brooklyn Dodgers, annual reports, old-time musicals, his friends, many who were from high school and college, seeing people he knew at various spots in Westport, like the Diner, Gold's, and the Y, and beyond, stories, telling stories about us, telling stories about the Army, stocks, other dads with the name Bernie, Brooklyn Bialys, and Black Forest Cake, Yuli and Mina, and most of all, his mom Pauline, my mom Joyce, and his beloved granddaughters Phoebe and Hallie. My dad grew up in Brooklyn. He had a lot of friends that remained his friends his entire life. He was the most loyal of friends. He played handball and went to the beach at Coney Island. I saw many photos with him looking very debonair. He lived with his wonderful mother Pauline and his brother Herman, Uncle Zimmy. He graduated from Boys High School in 1950 and went on to earn a business degree from Baruch College in 1954. He also earned a Master of Business Administration from NYU in 1957 and became a certified public accountant in 1960. He honorably served in the Army from 1955 to 1957. We will never know if he was really an accountant or a spy. And at that time, he got the chance to travel with the Army, and he was very proud of the time he spent in St. Louis. During all of this time, he supported himself and his family. In 1957, he met my beautiful mom, Joyce. Oops, I shouldn't have looked down. She was only 18 and later learned that my dad was 24 because he didn't tell her at the time, but it was love at first sight, or we think so. They were married on Christmas Eve in 1960. Can you believe they've known each other for 67 years? And they dream big, even though they both came from difficult backgrounds. It used to be spare ribs were a treat, kosher style. We also grew up in Brooklyn. I loved it there, 1411 Avenue V. I have some funny memories. My dad had an emerald green Cadillac and a beautiful blue one. Both were stolen, and then we got a parking spot with a lock in Mrs. Mangiamelli's driveway. My dad would call his mom every night from the phone in their bedroom. We had favorite restaurants, went to Coney Island. Once I fell on the boardwalk, and my dad removed all 1,000 splinters. But they had big dreams and were determined that we move before my brother started junior high. They looked all over, Long Island, New Jersey, until one day my dad's work associate and friend invited him up to Westport, and that was it. They spent another long while looking at houses and a lot of ice cream cones at Stu Leonard's until we came across 18 High Meadow Road, or what my mom named Holly Hill. Who moves from Brooklyn to Weston and decides to have 2 acres of land? Gardening, and there was once a mouse that my dad chased me with, and I ran through a glass door. Giving me my own room, the chance to go to an idyllic school, and set me up for a lifetime of success and happiness. I truly loved living there, except I didn't like raking the leaves. My parents had to learn how to drive on the dark and twisty roads at night and adjust our Brooklyn accents to Connecticut ones. We had a lot of happy memories there. They were the formative years of my life. We had family barbecues, and I always remember being in my dad's office among the stacks of annual reports, where he taught me how to write cover letters and give me homework advice. Later, when I was coming home from college and business school, he also always insisted on giving me cash. Just something small to make sure I was okay. And he loved leading the Seder at Passover, even though he did it his own ways. Over the years, my dad, Bernie, helped many companies achieve financial success, including Unity Buying Service and Sbarro. He really knew Mama Sbarro. He loved everyone he worked with and was known as Mr. Z. He gave legendary holiday gifts, and everyone looked forward to the big surprise. He also knew everyone around town, and everyone that ran into him couldn't wait to hear one of his stories. He did all of this without a computer or an iPhone. One thing about my dad was that he encouraged all of my potential. He was so proud of my achievements. He took me on college visits and knew my college friends and their parents. When I graduated from business school, my parents had to wait many hours for the Z's. Parents said, "Oh, I'm leaving." And they're like, "Well, we're Zimmerman." But they wouldn't move for anything. And then when I got my first job, he encouraged me to take the Dale Carnegie course. But now I do forget people's names. My dad knew the trick to longevity. Hot tea with lemon, some running, no drinking or smoking, my mom's careful cooking. But the most important part of his long life was a medicine called granddaughters. Even the other kids loved him. He loved picking up the girls at preschool, and sometimes people would ask if my dad had another girlfriend, because my kids called my mom Joycey. When the girls were young, we had a New Year's Day party, and Papa was down there with all of the kids. That's what brought him joy. Phoebe and Hallie were his favorite way to spend time. Hallie's going to talk a little bit more of that a little later when she comes up. I could go on and on with more stories, but for now, we'll end with this. Sorry. Do you want to know what love is? Love is Joyce, my mom, his wife of 63 years. Joyce was his true love, and they worked hard to make a beautiful life together and give me a life filled with joy. Love is granddaughters. That is a love with no bounds that added years to his life. He would do anything for them, something special that many granddaughters get to experience. Dad, I am sorry about the last 3 months when you couldn't do a lot of the things you enjoyed, but you were warm, comfortable, and had unlimited tissues, and finally got to eat as many grapefruit slices as you wanted. And Mom was by your side every second of the way. I hope that you are peaceful and saying hi to some of your friends like Lionel and Eddie. And don't worry about us. I will take such good care of Mom, and we will continue to tell your stories, look at all our funny photos, and remember Papa Bernie Dad with enormous love. See you soon over the rainbow. Oh, we've had these. Oops.
We now want to invite Ellen's husband, Rick, to share Bernie's brother, Zimmy's words.
So, does anyone know Uncle Zimmy's real first name? That's right, it's Herman. And Herman, unlike Bernie, Herman is a scientist. And he was, 13 years, he was a professor at Union College in geology. So this essay by Zimmy is entitled Kid Brother. So, how it goes. This is difficult for me. You see, Bernie and I grew up to be very different people. Bernie is 7 years older than me, which means that Zimmy obviously is in his mid-80s. He grew up as a child of the late Depression, as did my dad, a time when personal finances were of central importance. In those 7 years, World War II and atomic energy had brought science to the forefront. And so while Bernie focused on business, I, Zimmy, focused on science. Bernie naturally gravitated to the center of the business world, Wall Street. Of course, and I naturally spun outward away from the city, anywhere except New York. So, before we drifted apart, Bernie was my big brother, and I was his kid brother. As far as brothers go, we were quite different. I can say one thing as a comment. What united them is their love of their family. So, physically, intellectually, and personality, I consider myself very different than Bernie. But as an older brother, he taught me things informally that served me well later on. I learned about business and personal interactions when we played Monopoly. I absorbed the workings of the stock market and business by keeping my ears open. I even learned about politics by listening carefully, and I began to understand that Bernie and I had some very divergent points of view. So we had some interesting conversations over the dinner table. During the hot and steamy summers in New York, I was sent away to camp, which I dearly loved. Bernie tried summer camp once and hated it. So he stayed in the city and became the mayor of Bay 6 at the beach. So I guess he was a hot dude. I assume he spent time at our grandpa's first store in Manhattan, where he began to do some of the bookkeeping and worked around the corner at Sandy's Sweet Shop, where he ate a lot of ice cream. When I was 13, I inherited that job. I spent a summer at Sandy's too. I was paid under the minimum, but it was a summer job, and I appreciated it. He also got me another summer job at Copake Country Club, where I met my wonderful Vicky. And Vicky is Herman's wife. Let's not forget that Bernie was the first of our family to graduate from college and went on to establish a significant business. So Bernie is not just an investment banker. So in the days that Bernie practiced investment banking, he not only did equity raises and debt raises, but he did M&A. Today, those are specialized. But Bernie was a man of jack of all trades. And Bernie left Wall Street and struck out on his own. So when he brought Sparrows public, he was already on his own. When he brought them private, he was on his own. So Bernie was a pretty accomplished entrepreneurial investment banker. He became a well-respected businessman and was consulted by many of his associates. But perhaps his most endearing quality was his loyalty to his friends and his family, a trait which I share. I think of how he was cared for, how he cared for his mom, and his mother was very important to Bernie, and it was somebody he treasured deeply. Mom depended on Bernie's support and caring during her last days. Some years later, I, Zimmy, used the handle Kid Brother for my shortwave radio. Bernie was very pleased.
And now Bernie's grandchildren, Phoebe and Hallie.
Hi. Okay, sorry. I was going to do the talking. She has a better way with words. This is a lighthearted thing, so it's just supposed to be fun. Yesterday, Phoebe and our grandpa passed away. Phoebe and I were so lucky to have Papa as a grandpa. Papa was an awesome grandpa. We had a special experience because we lived very close to Papa. Growing up, we spent a lot of time at Joyce's and Papa's. Okay, Phoebe's really competitive and smart, so she and Papa would play checkers and other games together. I was really misbehaved, so I would cheat during the games, but luckily I had a very patient grandpa and grandma who would not get mad at me and let me play even though I continued to not follow the rules. We also did a lot of gardening together. We went to the garden store and we would go see the cucumbers that Papa was growing. He had a lime, not a lemon tree, so he would drink lime with his tea. We did a lot of activities together. Credits to Joycey for co-leading the activities, including baking together. Papa was great at eating the baked goods, art projects, gossiping, hanging out, understanding the stock market, eating breakfast, making homemade ice cream, and more. When I lived with Joyce and Papa for a little bit, Papa drove me to school every day and to gymnastics, and to Joyce's record, we would talk about politics, local, national, and state, economics, stocks. We weren't very interested in bonds, so we would gossip, and anything else that might be interesting. Papa also used to tell us lots of cowboy stories growing up. When we would go to bed, he would sit on our bed and tell us all the Western stories. He also gave me the tip not to drink water before you go to bed because otherwise you have to get up in the middle of the night. And every night, I still don't drink water before I go to bed. Papa was also amazing at sharing. As soon as he got his food at a restaurant or any time, the first thing he would say to me was, "Do you want some?" And even when we finished eating, he would always try to give us more food. He was very generous. Phoebe and I wear his sweaters all the time. Papa would always say, never say you hate anything or anyone, just say that you strongly dislike something. For example, sometimes I would say, I hate mushrooms, they taste gross, and Papa would say, just say you strongly dislike mushrooms, not you hate them. So it also applies to people's. Very nice. He was, like my mom said, he was really passionate about education, and he encouraged Phoebe and I both to work hard in school and reach our dreams. Today, Phoebe works in computer science, and I do economics, and I give credit to Papa because he always supported us. He was a very selfless person. He prioritized Phoebe and I and the rest of the family so we could attend college without stress and be where we are today. I'm grateful to Papa for everything he provided and for always encouraging us to be successful young women. I guess sitting with him, watching CNBC, discuss the markets every day eventually influenced me. It means a lot to have someone cheerlead for you, so thank you, Papa, for that. I think everyone here met my grandpa so they had a chance to experience his exuberant personality and his kind heart. I just wanted to come up here and say Papa was really fun to be around. He cared deeply about Phoebe and I. He was super involved in our lives, and he was also a friend. Thanks to our mom for always keeping us within a 10-minute drive of Papa. And I'm grateful Phoebe and I moved back to New York after graduation so we could only be an hour away from him. Papa was a really special person, and I have countless memories with him. We miss you already, and you taught us a lot.
Last night, when I met Joyce and her family, Joyce asked whether there was a male equivalent of Eshet Chayil. Eshet Chayil, meaning woman of valor, is a poem found at the end of the book of Proverbs, and it describes the way that the Jewish tradition shares how a woman demonstrates her valor. I said, no, the whole thing is written by men and for men. They don't need one line just for a man. They have the whole tradition. We have the whole Jewish tradition of Tanakh. But really, Joyce, we do have an Eish Chayil, an Ish Chayil, a man of valor, and we have that understanding in the personalities of the many men of our tradition. So I'd like to share my version of Ish Chayil, the man of valor, for Bernie. Bernie was like Adam, in partnership with Eve as they tended the Garden of Eden. Bernie lived his life in full partnership with you, Joyce, and he lived his life as a partner in how you lived your life and in your marriage. Together, you moved from Brooklyn to Weston, finding the perfect house, and together you built a beautiful life for your family in the suburbs of Connecticut. Bernie was like Abraham, hardworking and dedicated. committed to working in relationship and connection with others. Bernie loved working as a financial advisor, as we heard. More importantly, he loved the relationships he built with people, both professionally and personally. He showed up for his clients, going so far as to have one of the first giant car phones so that he could always be connected. Bernie was like Jacob, bestowing blessings on the next generation and the one after that. Bernie was committed to the relationships in his life. He encouraged Wayne and Ellen to succeed academically, always sharing his lofty dreams for them. He formed individual relationships with each of them, encouraging them. His support continued for his grandkids, where he somewhat jokingly told Phoebe and Hallie that they could choose Yale, Princeton, or Harvard for where they went to college. It took him a bit to come around to MIT. And Lehigh? Lehigh? Okay. Oh, you went to Lehigh. He got there eventually. He was driven and wanted to see those in his life succeed. And yet, he still found time to go to almost every recital, robotics competition, concert, and more for his grandkids. Bernie was like Moses, a leader for the people Israel, guiding and encouraging them. He always encouraged his family, whether academically or in other realms. And for his granddaughters, Phoebe and Hallie, Bernie wanted them to achieve their every dream and cared about your every wish. He would spend time gossiping with them, driving them to school, and playing whatever games they wanted, even when they cheated. He was their encouragement. As he got older, Bernie was always there as a guide for little kids. He would disappear from the family New Year's Day party to babysit all the kids in the basement so the parents could celebrate, and they would find him there hours later with 20 kids. Bernie was like King David, musical and full of dance. Bernie loved old-time musicals like Annie Get Your Gun and could tell you exactly who the actor or actress was in it, and he loved big bands. He loved Glenn Miller, Lawrence Welk, and Frank Sinatra, to name a few. He loved to dance the foxtrot, the rumba, and more. He even was on a show and won an award for dancing. Of course, he taught his granddaughters. Bernie was like the people Israel, lover of the small things in life that bring us joy. Yes, Bernie loved his family, and he loved so much more as well, which Ellen told us a little about. She told us about the Cadillac, the ones that were stolen, and what I learned is that he loved to tell rambling stories, and if you told him to tell a story in short, he would tell you it in 3 times the length that it took to tell the story. But he loved to share it. Bernie was also like the people Israel in that he didn't really like the travel that got you from point A to point B. Bernie preferred to stay close to home. He sometimes had to travel for work, going as far abroad as Germany. But when it was important to someone, like attending the Indianapolis 500 after passing the CPA exam was for Wayne, Bernie made the effort to go many, many years. It is said that each of us are granted 80 years and 10. That is 70 years to live. Perhaps by reason, 80 years. That's what Proverbs says. Bernie far exceeded those biblical limits. And today, as we say farewell to his physical presence, we know that he continues to endure in the hearts of those present here and those who love him. We say goodbye now to this loving, caring man, this connector. We turn to the words of El Malei Rachamim, our funerary prayer, and I invite all of us to rise in body or in spirit. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Udoharim Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Baruch, Shahalach La'olamo. Ba'al harachamim yastirehu beseter knafav la'olamim, v'yitzror b'tzror chayim en nishmato, Adonai hu nachlato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Bernie Zimmerman, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. This concludes this section of our funeral. We will continue at the Temple Israel Cemetery for the burial. For those of you who are not going to come to the cemetery with us, Shiva will begin at 4 o'clock at Ellen's house in Westport at 12 Salem Lane. So you can meet there or you can follow us to the cemetery. At this point, any of the pallbearers are going to step forward.